Hello friends, today we are making this incredible navy blue garland full of mixed metals, eucalyptus, lots of textures and intricate details, and of course some dazzling accents. So let's get into it. I like to start with a nice clean slate table, and I put my inspiration piece up, which in this instance is my tapestry. And I am going to go ahead and start with the base because that's where we need to start. So I have a foam noodle that I just happened to find, and then I have some of my plastic chicken mesh, which you've seen me use in some other projects, but if you're not familiar with it, I really love this product because it has the same benefits for the most part of regular chicken wire, except for it's plastic and a little bit easier to handle. You don't need the gloves, it's not going to cut you up a lot and scratch you. You can use your regular indoor scissors with it. So if you haven't tried it, I'll link to the one that I used below. There's lots of different sizes and colors they come in. Now, when you're cutting your chicken mesh to go around, in this instance a pool noodle, but if you're using foam, whatever, that's fine. You need enough to wrap around the noodle, but then you also need a little bit extra because remember, we're not just sticking it, the stems of the silk flowers, we're not just sticking them into the foam. Some of them we're not cutting the long stems off of them, so we're just kind of using the chicken mesh to help stabilize them. So really the stems will be, for some of the flowers at least, in between, kind of sandwiched, if you will, between the chicken mesh and the pool noodle. So you need a little overage. I'd say just make sure you can fit a couple fingers in there, and you don't want it too loose, but just enough where you can fit. I think the best way to measure that is a few fingers. Now, I like to zip tie mine together. You can wire yours with floral wire if you want. Zip ties for me are just more convenient, and it's easier for me to start in the middle and work my way out so you know that it's secure on both sides and everything's lined up pretty evenly. You don't get to the end and find it's misaligned. So it doesn't need to be perfectly flat. You're just trying to keep the mesh together and you don't want it to kind of pucker up a little bit. So you can always add some in wider intervals and then go back later and add zip ties in between. So for the end of the pool noodle, what I'm doing is I'm doing my best to kind of fold the wire, or the, I guess it's plastic, chicken mesh together, and I'm using a larger zip tie to try and hold them together. Now this is not going to be perfect. You might even end up using 2 or 3 zip ties to get it flattish, but what we're just trying to do is create a mostly enclosed end so that way the chicken mesh is a little bit more flush with the pool noodle, but we can still use it to secure any foliage or whatnot that we want to put at the end. So I went ahead and did both sides, and you can tell it's not laying flat right now. Don't worry about it. I doubt yours will either. So we are going to start right into the foliage. So we got our pool noodle where we want it. You can see on the left side of the screen I have my riser. It's a gold aluminum riser with a beautiful chandelier on top of it, and I'm currently handling this beautiful silver dollar, kind of like frosted finish garland from Shop Wild Things. They were kind enough to send me a lot of these wonderful products so I can show you guys how to use them. What's great about these garlands is they have a nice wire tip on the end of them, so I can secure them straight into the foam. So what you're seeing me do here is essentially we're creating a figure 8 shape over and around the foam, and that's going to help add some height and some dimension as the greenery base. And I'm taking a third garland and I'm essentially going to be running that straight down the middle of the centerpiece in this instance. So 3 garlands, we're doing a figure 8 just to help mix in some of the greenery, and then 1 straight down the middle. You'll see that I have eucalyptus that I'm also going to be adding in, but I say this every video and I will probably forever say it. It is so important that you take a few moments and just fluff out your silks, whether they're flowers, they're foliage like these, or even they're just random Christmas spirals that you get. It adds so much value to what you're getting. You'll use less product and it'll make more of an impact. So I started on one end with the eucalyptus, and I have this nice billowing effect of it coming out towards the edge near the base of the riser. And that's there because the risers are being worked into this garland design in this instance, and I want my foliage to kind of spill over and wrap around the bottoms. So like with a lot of things in creative floral design, it's helpful to do something on one side and then repeat and mirror it on the other side. And that's what you're seeing me try and do here. And I'm just finagling that bottom where we had zip tied it just to make sure we have it covered. So, continuing on with the greenery. A lot of floral videos you see cut the stems like you're seeing me cut here with wire cutters. And if you want to, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. I like to cut some of my stems. I don't cut all of them. It just depends on the projects that you're using them for. But in this instance, it was really helpful to cut them. And thankfully, these stems cut really easily, so it was very convenient and wasn't a pain in the butt to do. And greenery is something you're going to see me use and have used a lot as the foundation, because greenery really helps create the base of any good project, and is also a nice break for your eye, especially in a design like this where you can see to the right of the screen we have really rich colors like the navy, midnight blue in there. We have heavy metallic coppers, bronzes, golds, and so the greenery in this particular application isn't just a base, it's really helping your eye find something natural to relax on instead of being hyper stimulated. And the greenery provides an amazing contrast with all those really heavy colors and textures. So it's a really multi-purpose tool that I think is often overlooked when designs are happening. So definitely consider playing with colors and textures, and even like things like leaf shape make a big impact. So we're just in this moment, we're taking a step back and looking at the garland that as it stands, and it looks crazy, and you can see the pool noodle and you can see the mesh, and I hear you, but that's how paintings start, right? You have to put the foundation down, and then you keep building and building and building on it, and then you work on the details. So right now we have some pretty great coverage, and you can see that I am matching my colors to my tapestry, or my tapestry matches my colors. Either way, I have these wonderful leaves that I picked up last year that you saw at my Christmas tree, and if you haven't, I'll make sure to link that video. They match my earrings, they match these amazing little chandeliers from Shop Wild Things, and they have such great shape and form to them that the risers from Shop Wild Things look like they were just meant to go together. They're really spectacular. So because these are nice leaf shapes, we're trying to create that natural leaf feeling in the leaf shape in the leaves. You guys know what I'm talking about. We're trying to fluff the stems out so they look more authentically like leaves, even though, I mean, they're doused in metallic paint and they're gorgeous. But getting wire foliage, whether it's your greenery or your accents like these, really help give you that shape and dimension you're probably going to need for your designs. 10 out of 10, if I can find something with wire in it, I'm going to buy that over something without wire, just because it's so much easier to work with. We're going to keep adding on, just like you saw me do with the eucalyptus and the garland. We do one on one side, we do one on the other. Now, I went ahead and cut out some of the elements on the side you can't see from the camera, so we're going to focus on the front portion. So, we don't want everything just going down the middle, because we want you to be able to have a multi-sensory experience and not know what your eyes are going to land on next. So that's why you see me putting these metallic leaves on the front on this side, but on the other side, the rear side, I might do it in the opposite. And you can tell here how I've been focusing on intertwining the eucalyptus leaves in with the metallics. That's so everything is not just layered on top of each other, but it looks like they were intentionally blended together. I have these these are just straight copper leaves that I'm also mixing in, and I want you to see here, so see how long that stem is? there's no way that sucker is going to be making sense getting shoved into the foam. Rather, we're going to run it parallel to the foam with that extra space that we allocated essentially for when we cut the chicken mesh and put it together. So there's plenty of room for multiple stems to be essentially woven through that mesh barrier. So think of it kind of like a net in that sense. And that's what I really love about working with this chicken mesh and silks, because for me, cutting the silks, you can do it and there's nothing wrong with it, but I like having the flexibility of creating with longer stems, and I can always shorten them later. And look how easy it was to adapt sliding that copper stem in. It's taking me longer to mix it in with the other elements around it. And what's that, like less than 10 stems? It's already looking so much more covered. So what you're seeing here are some midnight navy blue amaranth, also from my Christmas last year that I did. And they have these spectacular little gold, I don't want to say flakes, but almost gold flecks on the end of them that add just a pop of brightness and dimension to the amaranth. And I just want you to see, now that we've got so much already on here, it's still really easy to just wedge these essentially silk stems, which are usually wire based, just so you know. And it's still so easy just to wedge it in, and that's what we're doing. We're just kind of magically weaving things in there, these stems. So adding a little bit more blue, you'll see, again, more blue from my Christmas last year, but navy is just so trendy this year. I had to use it. I love it. And they're beautiful, right? They're beautiful florals. So what you're seeing here are beautiful navy orchids with part of that same collection that the amaranth is from, with this nice little gold tips. So unexpected, absolutely, but I think considering how trendy navy is this year, it matched the tapestry that I fell in love with. I was just like, you know, the universe is telling me we need to pull these out of the attic and start using them again, and I am not mad about it one bit. Now, given that they are silk flowers and delicate, and there's not really wire in the flower portion, try and fluff them out before you use them if you can. And I came around this side of the table just so you could see how easy it is to slide, again, parallel the stems that you're working with along the pool noodle or foam base, whatever you're using, and it's so easy. So in this instance, I worked in a champagne glitter pick or two, and I'm just kind of fluffing them in so they're not as in your face, but there's that extra layer of glitter sparkle. Now, working with more of the delicate items, I am trimming some of these. I am obsessed with these chocolate brown, glittery fantasy flowers. They're not really poinsettias, they're fantasy flowers. That's the best way I could put them. And I picked them up, I believe, from Decorator's Warehouse after Christmas sale. I'll link to them if I can find them on their website. They are so beautiful, so light and airy. And having accents like this, even if it's not these exact same ones, help provide negative space with their kind of almost skeleton vibe. And light through. It's just, I love it. I love how they work in, and they look beautiful with the greenery right next to them. So pretty. Next, you can tell we're starting to add some of the more delicate features, like these little beaded berries. So you're working your way to the lighter elements, and those are the last pieces, and then you end up with something honestly quite fabulous like this. Look how gorgeous this is. This is just a fantastic garland, table runner, whatever you want to call it, for a formal dinner. It's gonna look absolutely dazzling in the right light, but honestly, look at it during the day. It's beautiful. And in this, I mean, look at this. We've got beautiful eucalyptus, we've got magnolia leaves, we've got these garlands. I mean, I love everything about it. And the chandeliers, the little chandeliers that you see, unexpected, but wonderful. They don't need any light or anything. They're just there to add some dimension and height and just create a beautiful, elegant feeling. Now this garland is currently being used on my table as a fancy table runner, essentially, in Centerpiece, but it could equally just have been made for things like a photo backdrop, a wedding arch, and so much more. So I'll have some other videos linking for you guys to see how I reuse this garland in another setting. But focusing on what we have here, we have a gorgeous tablescape with everything from more natural greens to synthetic navy blues that are a little bit more fantasy. So why not have fun and play with the place settings? I've got a copper charger, a green textured plate, a blue little side plate, and a smoky gray champagne glass. All vintage, or maybe they're not all vintage, but they're all from the thrift store. The only thing I had to buy were these napkins, and again, I had them from last year, but definitely pairing this beautiful garland that I am still just loving so much with fun, beautiful, textured glassware, whether it's plateware or your actual stemware for your wines and beverages, is going to take this elevated look that much further. So I really encourage you to play with what you set the table with, whether it's this color palette or something else. You can find some pretty incredible stuff at your local thrift stores and estate sales that are definitely worth picking up. I have to say, some of my favorite pieces came from the thrift store. Alright friends, that's it for my end today. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. Make sure to go check out the Shop Wild Things page. I linked all the products that I specifically use in the description box down below. However, I highly recommend you go check out their new arrivals page. There is always something new and incredible added to their inventory. And if you liked this garland, but it might be a little too much for your table, or you want to keep going with this theme even further, make sure you're subscribed, because I'll be uploading a video very, very soon on how to use this very same garland into an incredible photo backdrop wall or wedding altar. You could use it for so many different things, and I am loving it. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it.